Hello, everybody. Once again, I'm Liam Crafton Jr., aka Zorvalchan Less Than Guru, and this playlist is going to be about house rules homebrew for the Palladium role playing game First Edition. Even though it's specifically about Palladium First Edition, there are things here that you might find interesting or useful in other Palladium Megaversal games, whether it's Rifts or Palladium Second Edition or Heroes Unlimited or any of the other vast amount of games that Palladium has out there. But in each one of these, I am going to try to be short, which is going to be very, very hard for me. And I'm going to try to stick to one topic, and sometimes I'll need to break that topic up. But I'll give a reason, a initial questioning or problem or something that I've noticed, and then what I did to solve the problem. I've been playing Palladium games since the mid-'80s when Robotech, the role-playing game, first came out, the first edition of the game. And then quickly that was followed by the Palladium First Edition game, which I completely fell in love with. And I've always expressed that that is the game that grabbed me and kept me into role-playing games since then. I had played Dungeons and Dragons, various versions of BECME and BX and AD&D up until that point, but it never really caught me. It was more like I played because a couple of my friends played. Palladium First Edition is what's grabbed me and kept me into role-playing games since the mid-'80s. I played all throughout the 1990s, both in many different Palladium systems, and then I kind of had a hiatus for a while until around 2008, and then I did a Beyond the Supernatural and another Rifts campaign, and then recently, about three and a half years ago, I started having nostalgia for old school type games. I gave my players a list of games that I was willing to do as an old school, and the Palladium First Edition was number one or number two on everybody's list. It was by far the most popular game that people wanted to play. As I've stated before, but this playlist specifically is reasons why I changed rules or rules that I saw a need to be changed. During that time, I realized that a lot of rules I used were not actually in the book. They were either maybe from other Palladium games, or maybe they were from AD&D or D&D games, or even things that other game masters for that AD&D and D&D that I was in had put in. And since, in my mind, Palladium and the D&D, early OSR type D&D games, those were very, very compatible, and I just subconsciously transferred house rules into Palladium without a focus on it. Since then, I have designed my own games, and I have been a developer of Torg Eternity, and before that, I was a freelance author and somebody who was developing rules, and it's just a different mindset. So when I got back into Palladium, into my 30-year-old book, and saw things that were confusing to me now that weren't confusing to me then, I tried to figure out why. I also remember problems or things that my players questioned from those old campaigns. So all of these tips and tricks that I present, Mars Video Cat right here, in this series will be because of that. And again, if you've had fun with Palladium and none of these are a problem, then by all means, play Palladium how you want to play it. But if you would like the good, solid core of Palladium and are trying to figure out some of those little nitpicks that are out there and want to tighten the system down a little bit, or something is bothering you, feel free to use any of these, adjust any of these, and maybe you'll listen to this and one of these episodes and you're like, I don't agree with that at all. Well, then you know that there's alternate rules and they just don't apply to you. So all of that is good information to go forward with. So I'm going to end that here. because I don't want this to tack on to the time of the other stuff. So this is episode 1, the introduction, the why I'm doing this series, and have removed my rewriting Palladium because that was a lot of information, a long information, and I feel that these shorter ones will be more beneficial to viewers and listeners. So, having said that, myself, Lehman Crafton Jr., aka Zorvalchan, Less Than Guru, and Mars, the video cat right here, we say, until next time, we will catch you later.